Here we
Hello.
are.
Hello, good evening and welcome everybody. Welcome to Claret and Booze on a Wednesday night. Tonight we're obviously joined by Gary and Nick as usual. How you doing, boys? All right?
Yeah, not bad.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
All good.
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Bit tired, but getting on with it. So tonight we're going to have a quick review of the Watford game. We didn't do it last night because obviously it would have been far too late time we all got home from the game. And we're going to have a bit of a Q&A section as well, where if anybody in the chat wants to answer any of the questions that we're going to come up with, obviously related to the obvious situation at the moment that's developed over the last 72 hours, we'll answer some of your questions and put some of your comments up. So I'm going to start with the game itself. So last night, as we know, we played Watford and we won 1-0 in what was quite a dour game, personally, I felt. And we were all surprised by the lineup. As we were told, Zouma probably wouldn't start. However, as we know, he was named on the starting lineup. How did you feel about that, Gal? How did you feel about the starting lineup? No real surprises apart from that?
Yeah. I mean, look, it was the team that we predicted the other day. Apart from Zouma, I mean, I was listening to TalkSport. I couldn't believe it when the news came up. I really couldn't. It was an odd one for me, John.
Yeah, most definitely. Nick,
I was well, you know me. I'm really lost for words. I was not expecting that at all. You know, and we'll get into it later on. But yeah, no. For me, strange, very, very odd.
Yeah, it was very odd that he started, and I don't think many West Ham fans expected it, if we're honest. And listening to a lot of the media outlets, TalkSport, places like that, before the game, I think everybody was shocked. But he did start, and the starting lineup, as Gary said, was pretty much as we predicted. Obviously, before the game, we had the lovely tribute to Isla Caton, and I think that everybody at the club should be proud of their efforts, all the fans, both sides. And obviously, all the players wearing the pink armbands as in memory to her. What must have been a sort of bittersweet day for her family, obviously, and very emotional message from her mother there as well, I must say. And getting into the game, then, it was quite a poor game. I felt personally, it was devoid of chances. It didn't really seem to be going anywhere. And really, in the first half, I can't really think of any clear-cut chances fall into anybody. I mean, they had a header that they probably should have done better with. Don't know about you, Gal. What do you think about the opening side of the game?
Yeah. Look, I thought it was really slow. Really slow first half. I thought we were really sloppy. I thought they took care of Bowen and Benrahma really well, and so we just couldn't find a way. We couldn't find a way through. We were really well taken care of down the wings. I thought with Benrahma and Bowen. Bowen, I think as the half went on, Bowen had a little bit more joy against that number 14, but I don't think Benrahma, apart from chance that was made by Bowen, I don't think he done very much. So yeah, from an attacking perspective.
Yeah, Nick, what do you make of it? What do you make of the game?
It was slow. They looked as though they'd just played 120 minutes of football 2 days before on a pitch that had been ploughed by a tractor. They looked slow. They looked laboured. Even we'll get onto players after, but even Rice unusually had a bit of a sloppy first half, didn't he? It was an awful first half. I mean, and to be credit to Watford, I think they were a better team.
Yeah,
they were the better team. I think we had more possession, but they seemed to carve out more chances. They did more with the ball than what we did. I really like that. The striker up front as well. What's his name? Dennis. Yeah, really good. $2 million he cost.
Yeah, peanuts. I mean, I think somebody said on an interview last night, whoever does their buying at Watford needs a pat on the back because they picked up some players there. Even the new centre half they got from Udinese, the big guy. I can't think of his name either now. Sorry, but he was like he was built like a proverbial outhouse, and he was manhandling Antonio throughout the game.
Yeah. And their other new player, that Kamara as well, the fullback. He was probably the star of the half. I think he was.
What, the left back?
Yeah, really good.
He cost £3 million from Nice. Apparently,
it's a joke, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, but there are some bargains out there, especially in France. I mean, N'Golo Kante was peanuts, obviously, as we know all them years ago.
Yeah.
Leicester bought him. But anyway, getting back to the game, as we said, I mean, to be honest with you, there wasn't much to talk about in the first half. And in the second half, we started getting a little bit more joy. I felt Bowen came into it a little bit more. And again, Bowen was our main and obvious threat throughout. I don't think anything was coming down the left. And that's not a discredit to Benrahma. It just seems that we get more joy looking for and giving it to Bowen. And I just think the game was just petering along. We did have that chance in the second half where there was a lovely pass through to Benrahma. I think the goalkeeper come rushing out, blocked it, and then Benrahma tried to slot it in from a very acute angle.
Yeah, on the line. Great work from Bowen. Great work from Bowen. That was him sort of chopping in, and then a lovely sort of blind pass through. So I think he should have lifted it over the keeper personally, but the keeper did do well. He came flying out the keeper, but yeah, I think he should have done a little bit better than that.
That was the one time in that first half that Bowen actually got past that number 14, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It was sorry,
that was in the first half. I totally forgot that. I got it in the wrong order. Yeah, that was the one chance we had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think Antonio was throwing his hands up in discontent because he didn't square the ball, but it was a bit of a tight angle, really. And I think he probably should have looked to square it in, but
yeah, I think so. But yeah, it was probably our only decent chance. We had a couple of headed chances, didn't we? Like from set pieces, nothing much. I think Souček probably should have done a little bit better with one of his chances. Didn't Dawson get his head on one as well?
Dawson did.
Yeah, so we created a few chances, but nothing really to speak of.
Nothing clear cut though, apart from that Benrahma one. And I thought the keeper come out very well. But the second half started pretty much as the first half. I felt it was slow again, and we was very sort of slow. Gal.
Yeah, I think what I noticed is that as the second half wore on, and I mean, pretty soon after the second half started, as I noticed Antonio started going out further left, and Bowen was moving further into the middle, right?
Yeah,
and that seemed to open the game up a little bit because like I said, Bowen only really had that one bit of success against that fullback, and that kind of got him out of the way of the fullback, I think. And it was I mean, he started to make some space, and then Moyes added Lanzini into the equation, and that's when Lanzini was the one that he was the first one to play a ball through the middle, right? He actually played it through the middle to Bowen, straight onto Bowen, who almost took a shot straight off, didn't he? So it was he lit the game up, Lanzini, when he came on.
Most definitely, and I think that we've said recently that he can become an important player for us again, and it was good. It was good to see that although he was meant to have had that Achilles injury, that really said over the last few days. Sorry,
what? Everyone knows apparently it's how do you say it, John?
It's an Achilles injury, but what do you call it, Nick?
I call it an Achilles. Yeah, he keeps on taking the piss out of me for it.
Sorry, it's a bit of an in-house joke.
Yeah,
you didn't have to explain it. We can take the pronunciation. But yeah, I think Lanzini coming off, he just played that basic ball through the middle. Bowen ran onto it and took it was a big slice of luck, and it won't go down as an own goal because it was on target, but technically it was really, you know what I mean?
I don't know. You say luck, John. I think he played it off the guy's calf. It was no very accurate shot. Very accurate shot. Well done.
He obviously noticed the size of his calf, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, after the goal, and obviously we did grow in a little bit more confidence. We seemed to have a little bit more impetus going forwards. And it was probably, as a West Ham fan, we're always looking at the clock and you think, don't nick one.
Yeah.
But they had a couple of chances. I think Fabian actually did have a good chance when Tom Cleverley,
really good save.
Tom Cleverley on the left hand of the pot.
Yeah. Decent shot. He
won the ball and he took a fantastically curling shot to the top right hand corner. And Fabianski, who hadn't done much all game, produced a fantastic save. Nick.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant save. But like I said, I do think that the second, I think our fortunes changed when Moyes got it bang on, bringing Lanzini on. It completely and utterly changed the game for us. We started controlling the ball. We started using the ball more. It might have been the fact that he was obviously fresher than the rest of them. But for me, I don't see how Benrahma can ever start in front of Lanzini, in my opinion. I just don't see it because I don't see what Benrahma offers. I know he came close to scoring in that first half. He didn't have a terrible game, but
We'll do the player ratings after, but I think for me,
Yeah.
Ben Rama had an awful game. He was really ineffective, and I think Souček did as well. So your two favourites, Nick, had bad games in my opinion. I think one thing as well, and this is a good point from Robbie. They had pace all over the place. Yes, they did. They were a very, very quick side, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it was very, very. I don't know. We could have wrapped it up. Their keeper played well, but as you saw at the end, I mean, we were close to that ball that flashed across the front of the goal down the Bobby Moore end. That was it was close. That only needed a little touch. And then there was down the other end. This is what Rob's talking about here. The linesman down the far end near the away crowd. Harry didn't give a. You could see it from where we were. Antonio wrestled to the ground, and right in front of the linesman giving nothing. Right.
Yeah, but shortly after that, Gary, what happened? Because obviously Antonio faced up to that linesman, and then it must have been only about 2 minutes later. The same thing happened. Kufel got because he got booked for it for dissent. He got clipped, and it was right in front of the linesman. It was so blatantly obvious, and that's why he lost his rag. It was. Yeah, absolute bullshit.
Do you remember when we played Watford at their place? They had that guy with a top knot.
Yeah.
And he was manhandling Antonio, and Antonio was getting frustrated. That happened yesterday. That was the guy's name for Watford. His name was Samir.
Yeah.
The guy they bought from Udinese for £6 million. He was just literally holding him. And Antonio, and the thing is as much as it should have been given as a foul, Antonio's got to learn to not lose his rag, because then he gets put off his game. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the trouble is, I think we all criticise him for diving, but with all due respect, when you got someone all over you like that, I think the best thing you can do is hit the deck and try and get. So that might be why. That might be why he is taking a tumble a little bit more than what he usually does. But I think the officials set the tone early in the first half. Do you remember the back pass?
Yeah. It weren't only one back pass; it was two back passes from Souček, but one was terrible. I mean, it was virtually on a plate.
No, not Souček. The Watford back pass. So they literally, it was a clearance back to Forster. Well, not a clearance; it was an interception. Antonio's gone through on goal. Their defenders basically passed it back straight in front of Atkinson, and Forster caught the ball. Nothing given.
Oh, first half. So that would have been down the other end. So
that was down the other end. Yeah, down the other end.
You don't see that if you're watching it on telly, Nick.
Yeah. That's true. But that's true.
Right. Dawson done well. Yes, he did. Brave as a lion. The way he put his head on that guy's boot at the end. Typical Dawson.
Typical Dawson, exactly that.
Yeah.
And, you're right. They did have that one they flashed across the box near the end, 6-yard box, and Soufal nearly lost his man. He probably could have tapped it in, the guy, if he would have dived full stretch at it like Gaza, a la Gaza 96.
Yeah.
He didn't really put an effort in, sort of. But, the game petered out, and it was a 1-0 win, and it was a funny game, and I'm sort of the opinion, if you win and you don't play well, that's good. But Nick don't agree with me to some extent, do you, Nick?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it on the odd occasion. But you know what? Our performances have not been good for a while.
I totally agree with you.
That's the issue. I don't mind it if you got a bad performance sandwiched in between a couple of good ones, and you manage to grind out a result. But our poor performances, we're kind of reliant on a couple of players each game. We never seem to click all over the pitch. There's always someone that's having a bad game.
I think now, as the stats will obviously show, he's got 11 goals and 10 assists this season. Bowen, we are at the minute probably 60% reliant on him.
Yeah, we are.
If we don't score or assist, we're not probably going to score.
And do you know what I will say?
He's involved in most, isn't he? He's involved in most things.
He is. But what I will say with Bowen, especially in the second half, like Gary said, he seems to sort of shift him to a more central position. Bowen looks more comfortable. They've obviously been doing work with Bowen in that area.
Yeah.
And he's confident now as well, Bowen. He will take players on. It's
because if a player's being, as you said, their left back was marking him well. Okay. Yeah. And sometimes you have to learn to play different positions.
Yeah.
You got to be interchangeable a little bit. If you're just stuck on the right, like he invariably is, and he's being marked out of the game, you've got to find a way of getting him to impact the game. And like you said, moving him into the middle, he looked very comfortable. He didn't look,
Well, he weren't going to beat Kamara for pace, was he? That was never going to happen. So, but no, he did do well, and he had another chance as well, Bowen, didn't he? Which was just saved. where he chops inside, and that was and Forster tips it around the post. That was a brilliant.
Oh, that
save.
was a very good save near the end. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was a brilliant save. So. Yeah, he played really well, Bowen. We had a couple of good performances, but we did improve massively. The minute Lanzini came on, we looked a different team.
He's just a calming influence. He doesn't even have to do flips and tricks. He just gets it down, plays it simple, and sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love watching Bowen. I mean, Rice aside, he's been the player of the season for me. I think he's been outstanding. Everything goes for him, like you said. By the way, there's a lot of talk about Zouma in the chat. We will be covering Zouma extensively, right?
Yeah, we're gonna cover once we get the player ratings out of the way. We'll get into we'll get into Zouma.
It is interesting. You know what? That comment you put up earlier, Gary, from Robert Singleton about the pace they had all over the place. It's been a number of years now where we've been devoid of pace in our team throughout. We're very slow for the last few years, really. It's an odd. We don't have one nippy player, do we? One really quick player.
Sometimes, though, it's not even. Sometimes it's not a lack of pace from the players. It's it's how slowly we move the ball. There was one last night where rather than it was Rice actually on the ball, instead of playing the ball out wide right, he went via two other players to reach the same destination. And sometimes I think, if you're gonna be a counter-attacking team, you need to counter-attack quickly. You don't. I mean, that just negated any pace we sort of had anyway. But having said that, yesterday they were much faster than us. We looked tired, so there was no way we were going to spring them. No. I did like, by the way, in the second half, the way Rice was tracking. They had quite a pacey guy right on the right hand side of their midfield, and Rice was sticking to him like glue whenever he got on the ball. I really like that.
Yeah, there was one when he cracked back and they was checking VAR for offside, but they were also checking for a penalty, weren't they? But he won it fairly cleanly, didn't he?
Yeah, and the last time, just before the end of the game, like 5 minutes before the end of the game, this guy, he thought about going on another run, and Rice was already half-inch from his towel, and he looked around, he thought, "I'm not you again," and he just gave up. The guy just gave up. Yeah,
but I thought the Czech boys, Soufal had probably one of his best games in quite some time. He was tremendous, actually. Soufal was.
I wouldn't say tremendous in my opinion. I just think he's better than the poor way he's been playing recently. He's been that poor lately.
He has been, but he was good. I think he was good yesterday, and I criticise him when he's bad, and he was much better. Souček was awful. I mean, do you know what? Twice Tom Cleverley knocked him off the ball.
Yeah.
Two 50-50 challenges, and he ended up on his arse against Tom Cleverley.
Yeah.
It was
don't just before you start. Remember about Tom Cleverley. He's played hundreds of Premier League games. He's got.
I'm talking about size and physicality.
But I mean, just because Souček's tall and gangly, don't necessarily make him strong. I mean, but I agree with you. I thought Souček was fairly poor yesterday. To be honest with you,
he was. Didn't have a big game.
But as we expected, Watford were hard to break down, really. And that's
we called that, didn't we? We called it.
Yeah, but you know what Hodgson's going to bring to the team. Yeah. When he goes in anywhere, a bit like Moyes, he's going to make you strong at the back to start with and take it from there,
Yeah.
I think he was busy, Soufal, as in he was getting forward a lot. His crossing was still diabolical.
I think he was much like I think John's right. I think I'm probably going overboard on that. It was just much better than his recent performances.
Yeah, that's true.
He was just much better. Is what I'm trying to say. It weren't. Yeah, you are right. There were sloppy passes. It kind of annoys me a little bit as well. The way that Souček and Soufal were kind of almost they're just attracted to each other. You always see them together over trying to do little passing interplay over on that side of the pitch. You just think, for fuck's sake, can't you stay away from each other? It's really weird. He's always appearing over that side, Souček. And it weren't, and like I say, they haven't got the technical ability to do that. So it just after time, it just looks clumsy. I mean, there was one chance in the first half with Souček as well, where he done a bit of an Antonio, didn't he? The ball kind of, I think he won the initial header. He did well initially. This was an attack in the box, and then the ball broke to the right. Souček's gone over, and all he's got to do is square that ball in, and he kind of his legs got tied up in a knot. He kicked the ball into himself. It was a bad
A few comments. Antonio, he did look tired. He looked like he'd been flying around the world last night, didn't he? And he didn't even play on Saturday.
Well,
he was poor. No, I'm going to say it now. In the first half, his control was diabolical. There was a couple of times early on where he's picked the ball up. He's over it in passes. He's not even holding the ball up now. And it was, I don't know whether it was just fatigue, but he was poor. He was terrible, you know.
And this comment from Glenn, we looked very fast when we had Lingard. And I don't think that's because necessarily Lingard is really, really pacey and lightning. I think it's just the pace in which we move the ball.
Well, he's direct as well, Gary.
Team, right?
Like Rice, you've got someone who picks a ball up and runs at the defence, which is kind of what we need. And that's why at the moment Rice is doing that. Yeah. But obviously, imagine if Rice weren't doing that, we'd never get up the pitch.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's have a look at the last few comments. I'll leave all the Zouma stuff out until afterwards. Not so dangerous from corners and set pieces. No, we're not. No. Having said that, I thought we were quite dangerous yesterday. We went very close once or twice.
It's been a while, though, isn't it, since we scored from a corner, I think?
It has been. They tend to come along like buses, don't they?
Yeah.
Thought Soufal was very average, good defensively, poor going forward. Yeah, that's my opinion. Bonnie Hammer says Soufal should be dropped. Souček carried midfield first half. Well, to be honest, I think him and Rice was poor in the first half, but I don't think Souček was any better. That back pass in the first half, which nearly went straight to that where
when Dennis went
through, came off his line, he sprung off his line. And I think it was Souček that did a similar back pass from the other side of the pitch. In the like I think that
lazy pass.
Really lazy pass. Soufal's defending on the far post when King would have had a tap in was very good. Yeah, his defending was good, no doubt about it. Suffering Rice, nice one for Nick. You know,
don't
Nick.
Start that.
Oh, don't start with me, Garino.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Garino.
Rice. Fuck's sake!
Nick going overboard. Never.
He's been knocked out by Kidderminster, Garino.
Yeah. Souček, brilliant against the big teams when he's counter-attack. Other games just passing by. I think you're right there, actually. I think he does look good against the good sides. Credit to Hodgson. Yeah, you got to give credit to Hodgson because I'll tell you what, we beat a very decent side 1-0. And a few weeks ago, Watford were not a decent side. They're going to nick a few points against teams that they weren't supposed to get points against.
Oh, yeah, I said some time ago, I think they've got a decent squad.
Yeah.
I just think for whatever reason, Ranieri wasn't cutting it with them, you know what I mean?
I agree. Well, and what happened here? Soufal with the long throws. They were actually pretty long.
Yeah, no.
If that's all he's going to offer, I mean...
I love a long throw, though, John. I love a long throw.
What's he think he is? Rory Delap?
I agree with this 100%.
We called him the Czech Delap.
Yeah, Souček is the Czech Chianti, according to Ross.
No,
I read that earlier, and I can see the similarities in so much of what people were saying.
Yeah,
I think Coyote sort of started a similar vein in terms of maybe not goals, but he was really good, and then he just sort of petered off to a very average player, and hopefully Souček can pull it back. I'm sure he will.
Antonio wasn't able to get into the game, Sharky. He was isolated, and that's because two of the two fullbacks had the wingers in their pockets, I think, right? But at the same time, you kind of you know what? Sometimes when you're watching Antonio, he's dragging defenders around and making a beast of himself, and he can really make life uncomfortable for defenders, even if he's not getting the service. Yesterday, he seemed to be in the defender's pocket. Just a personal opinion.
Yeah, but no. But with Antonio, there were a couple of times where he received the ball to feet, and he didn't hold it up. He didn't bring anyone into play.
I think. Listen, we've gone over it for the last 2 months. We went over it, especially at the back end of January.
Yeah.
And we've gone over it until the cows come home. He is just absolutely knackered, right? Whether you like it or not, he is knackered. And the guy, I'm not trying to big him up as some sort of fantastic striker. We know his limitations. He needs something. He needs a break. Even yesterday, why couldn't they pull him off for the last 10 minutes?
Yeah. No, I agree.
What was he doing? What was he doing on the pitch that was so needed that we couldn't give him a 10-minute break and bring Occo next on or whoever? I don't know. Just bring someone else on.
If you put a donkey on Dawson's head.
Nick, don't start with that, mate.
Look at Paul Riley. Paul Riley, Dawson will put his head where you wouldn't put a crowbar. That's true. Brave man.
We're going to go over the player ratings in a minute. I'm going to discuss Dawson with Nicholas.
I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to surprise you. Right, I'll tell you what we are going to do.
Yeah,
we're going to bring in. We've got a guest for this evening. He's been waiting patiently, so we've got Danny Martinez. We're going to bring him in now to help us do the player ratings, and he's going to help us do the to tackle Zouma Gate as well later on. Here we are.
Hello, Danny.
Good afternoon, where I'm from, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good to see you. It's been ages.
Yeah. You guys all look healthy still. That's good.
That's good. You got off work early, didn't you? You were saying?
Yeah, I got everything wrapped up pretty early, so I'm happy to get to participate. Aside from having to watch it later.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, we're going to get into the player ratings, Dan. Did you watch a game?
Yes, I watched it. No, I had work yesterday too, and I had to watch it right after, about an hour after it had already wrapped up. So I just had to set my phone down and be a caveman for a couple of hours. But
I wouldn't have bothered watching that one retrospectively. I've got to be honest.
It was weird, man.
I know.
It was a weird game.
I know. But anyway, look, let's start with Fabianski. What are we thinking with Fabs' performance yesterday?
Personally, he didn't have a lot to do, but he pulled out that great save from Cleverly that we said.
Towards the end,
And then at the end, he came through a barrage of players and caught the ball.
And the back pass that he got out off his line quick.
I think he had a really good game. I'll give him an 8 personally.
He wasn't tested a whole lot in that first half.
Well, there was that one though, the Souček back pass that he had to come off his line.
God, to cut out. He was just quick on his feet and had the presence of mind to go get that, or else you're dropping points.
I think. Well, I'm not going to say if Areola had been in goal because that's not fair. He's only had one wobbly game. He's only had one wobbly game. But what I'm saying is he had almost. I think Fabianski almost had a perfect game with what he had to deal with and cope with. I don't think he could have done anything any better.
You're not going to give him a 10, are you?
No, not a 10. Not a 10.
I think an
8.
Yeah. I'd say high 7, maybe an 8. Yeah,
I'm going to go for an 8 for Fabs.
I'd go for an 8. He deserves it.
Happy with that, Dan?
It's a clean sheet, any way you slice it. So
exactly. Right, let's go with Cresswell.
Very, very busy player yesterday. He was getting forward a lot. He found his target quite a lot with the crosses. In advanced positions, he was good. He did get beaten a bit defensively a couple of times, didn't he? I don't know, John.
Yeah, I think he was. He's not up to the standard of Cresswell pre-injury yet for me. But he didn't really do anything wrong. Yes, he did get beaten a couple of times, but we know he's not the quickest. So for me, it was an average game for him. So for me, I'm looking at 6 out of 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I'd probably go 6 or a 7.
I'm with you guys there, 6 or 7.
Yeah,
we really missed his crosses while he was injured, huh?
Yeah.
And I did read a stat today. I read a stat today that he played something like 13 crosses and long passes. And I think on that point, Danny, we've been missing that. So I would give him a 7 and a welcome back to the team.
Yeah.
Go on then.
That's fine. Can't disagree with that. Okay. Onto the other side, Sufal.
Go on, Gal, you lead this one.
Well, look, it was very good defensively, which was a massive improvement on recent games. He got forward a lot, but his final ball was poor. His crossing was terrible. So, kind of really good down one end, a bit average down the other end, but he did show intent.
Yeah.
I would say 5 or 6 on him.
Yeah. I wouldn't go to a 5 personally. I'll go for a 6. What do you reckon, John?
I'd say high 5, 6.
Really?
Again, we're judging him on previous games where he's been poor.
I can't give him a 5. I thought he was much better than that.
No, so I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say it's an average game, but I think if it was a school report, I would say he can still do better. You know what I mean?
I'd say he redeemed his poor play on the offensive side defensively. He held his own.
Yeah.
Okay, right, and he who shall not be named.
Well, look, I mean, Zouma. Let's be honest, he shouldn't have been there. So give him a 0.
No, I'm not going to give him a 0 on his performance. I'm going to give him a 7.
He played well, but he shouldn't.
I think
he
played really well. All things considered,
he played really well, but he shouldn't have been there. So
he shouldn't have been there. But you've got to mark him on his performance. He still had a good performance.
Yeah.
All right. If you're going to mark him fairly on his performance, it'll easily be a 7.
Yeah.
Not saying ignore the outside stuff, but solely on the game that he played, that's a fair rating, I think.
Listen. We have to mark the players. It's a player ratings, and we're going to talk about the after stuff after.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Can I lead Dawson? Can I lead Dawson, and then you go, John?
Go on, then slag Dawson off, and we'll go from there. Go on.
I'm gonna say that was Dawson's best game for West Ham. I thought he was fucking tremendous. He was amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
He was. He was absolutely. He was for us, because I think Zouma had a good game. But just looking at his performance as a football performance, but Dawson was outstanding. He was so commanding. He was brilliant.
Why have you not said that all day? Why have you not said that all day to me?
Been winding you up. That's why.
He's been winding you up. No, I think he was brilliant. And like I say, for me, Dawson was my man of the match, even over Bowen.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, 100%. I thought he was superb, Dawson.
Go on, Gal.
I would go with that. I would say Dawson would be my man in a match as well. I would give him an 8 to a 9.
I feel like I'm gonna cry.
Go on, Danny. Go on.
So I was actually thinking Dawson played a really good complete game. Very disciplined, very ballsy defending. I thought Lanzini was my man of the match just because of how stagnant the attack had become in that first half.
It was a massive influence.
For me, my man of the match was Lanzini, but I'm not.
Yeah,
it's a democracy. It's a democracy. So
sure.
Just do your score for Dawson. We'll do man of the match at the end.
I think Dawson played brilliantly. An 8 or a 9 is more than fair. He absolutely earned that.
I'm gonna go 9 for Dawson.
Yeah.
Wow. I wasn't even going to go that high.
Yeah, fair.
I'd support a 9. I think that's fine.
Help us keep a clean sheet, man. That's big.
The thing is with Dawson, I know Nick. I've been banging the drum about him, right? And people would agree. People don't want to agree. That's fine. It's everyone's got their own opinions of him. He is a can of Ronsil. He does exactly what he says on the tin. He kicks it, he heads it, he clears it. He's not Virgil van Dijk, right? He's not going to be one of them players. He's 32. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's not all of a sudden going to be something he's not. He's come up from League 3, League 2, League 1. He's been relegated 2 or 3 times from the Premier League. He is an old school defender. There's nothing wrong with that, yeah? No. And the thing is now, when the chips are down and when we're not playing well, this is probably the sort of environment where he's going to start showing that he's actually quite important when we're not playing well. You know, even as Gary said right near the end of the game when he put his head on the striker's foot, he got kicked in the head again. Yeah. You know, he will just, for me, he's no airs and graces. He knows exactly what he is. I know exactly what he is. Claire knows exactly what he is. You know, he is a proper defender, right? And I'm not going to go on anymore.
I am going to say though, John, even though I gave him a 9, I'm still buying his replacement in the summer because he isn't a first team player.
But you know what? Let me say something.
Fair.
He will happily sit on the bench and bide his time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Because he's a professional and he will not cause problems and he'll be a good backup.
But what impressed me with him most yesterday, sorry, mate, was I know, obviously, look, Zouma had to deal with all the booing that was coming his way, but you know what? That must have been affecting the team as well. And he was, they had a lot of threat on the counter, on the counter attack with that Dennis. And I just think it was a really good, solid game. He was really good. He was brilliant yesterday. So
think about all our centre halves we've had this season. Think about the centre halves we've currently got. He now has become, in a way, the most reliable to a certain extent, and the one we've got to rely on most inside and outside of football to some degree.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for an experienced center back like that isn't moaning to the manager about playing week in and week out, and is just ready when his number is called.
Yeah, exactly that.
A team as hungry as Watford fighting for their absolute lives.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot to be said for keeping a clean sheet. Yesterday was not easy.
Well, no. I put that question out the other day on Facebook, didn't I? And it was that injury roulette or tempting fate, wasn't I? And I said, out of our preferred starting 11, that you can actually see on the screen now, because that probably is. Well, Lanzini would be in there, in my opinion, over Benrahma. But out of those 11 players with Lanzini, if you had to lose 3 players, who would cause the least damage?
Oh wow! I did see that.
No. Sorry. Who would cause the most damage?
Which 3 would we suffer?
So three of those players have got to go with Lanzini in the team.
I thought it was the least damage, Nick.
What's that?
I thought it was the least damage.
No, it was least and most, but because it was the most damage. Because for me, I said Dawson, Zouma, and Rice in our current squad situation.
The least expendable out of our
you can't lose your centre back at the moment, can you?
No.
Well, but we might be losing one shortly anyway. But that's another story. But
Yeah,
I think you got to include Bowen there, Nick, because with 11 goals and 10 assists, you can't ignore that either.
Most good things in the attacking third come from Bowen.
Okay, look, let's move on to Rice anyway. We spent far too much time on Dawson. Right, Rice.
Well, Claire wants to say more about Dawson. I think no, she don't. Sorry.
I think Rice had a very poor first half, and he salvaged it in the second half. So I'd say for me it was an average game from Rice.
Yeah, I would say on Rice's standards, he gets a 6 for yesterday.
Yeah. Even an average game for Rice is still pretty brilliant, though. I mean,
I know.
But the guy's class, like through and through. He's one of the best in the business.
It becomes we expect so much from him. Do you know what I mean? So
exactly.
If he just has a little off day, we sort of like, oh no, what's happened to Rice? But as you said, Danny, one of his poor games is still a good game. But
I mean,
I'd take him on his worst day than I would some of the other guys on the bench. Yeah.
I think defensively yesterday he was very good. He covered a lot. He tracked back a lot.
Yeah, he did.
As you said earlier, Gal, when he chased that guy down, you know,
he did. So I think I'm being a little bit harsh because of that. I forgot about that. Maybe a 7.
Are we being bullied? All right. Okay.
No. It's just for his defensive duties because John's just reminded me of that, and that's what I called him out on earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've just got really high standards where Rice is concerned.
I know. But he did recover it in the second half, and he does that, doesn't he?
He's almost gotten too good for his own damn good that we've grown to expect so much more from him.
Yeah. What about Souček?
Souček. Go on, Danny.
Man, I would say a 6, maybe a 7. I wasn't too impressed with him. Not on the offensive end of things in the first half. Really, just kind of, it didn't really blow my mind yesterday. With his play.
Well, he blew my mind, but in the wrong way.
I don't. He seems sometimes like where I don't know what Moyes' role is for him, whether he's got him in a free roaming role or if he wants him to help back on defense or what's going on. I don't know. This one's tough for me, but I'd say maybe a 6. He definitely didn't play better than Rice.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
I'd go 6. I'd go 6 without that.
Maybe a 6, man.
He wasn't below par. He was just sort of there, wasn't he?
Yeah. He the back pass that almost cost us a goal. I take that into account.
I mean, I would go 5, but it's a democracy. So if we're all saying 6,
we'll the 6s have it.
There we go. Pablo Fornals.
Yeah.
It was largely ineffective, wasn't he?
Not too sloppy, not too flashy.
Yeah, but I think that was partly because that weren't just him. I think that he suffered from the same thing that they all did in the first half. They were all, there was nothing going on, was there? It was a real kind of shit.
It was a snoozer, man. That first,
it was an awful performance in that first half.
I'd say you generally don't get a crappy game out of Fornals. The effort's always there. He's a neat-sided player. I'd give him a 6.
Yeah, he's got no way lower than a 6.
No.
Yeah,
no. You never get a bad game out of him. It's never due to lack of effort.
Yeah,
that guy runs his ass off for every ball. Like maximum effort. He's a working class type of player. I really like Fornals and kind of like Rice. Like where a bad game from him, it's not due to lack of effort. The guy's a high energy, high motor guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you happy with 6, Dan?
I am.
Okay. Right. Okay. Ben Rama.
Fuck.
Well, for me, he had a really, really poor game. I mean, I didn't see anything from him. I'd say it'd be a 5 or maybe even a 4.
A high 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give it up.
I don't think he deserves a donkey head. He did nearly score.
I'm not going to give him a donkey head.
No, but anything we did say anything below a 5 would be a donkey head. So I'll give him a 5. I'll give him a 5.
I think what happens with him is if he's frustrated with himself, you can see his body language goes. I mean, even when we subbed him, I noticed Moyes on the repeat this morning when I watched it. He was sort of going, "Come on, hurry up!" You know, he was saying,
right.
We need the goal. Get off! I'm trying to make the change."
It was a bit mopey.
The thing is with Ben Rama, it frustrates you because you know he's got it in him, but he just got to bring it, as I say, bring it to the party more often. We need these creativity that we've seen in the past. We need his skill, we need his impact, we need it all. And the problem is we, before he went to AFCON, funnily enough, he had 2 games where he was really good. I felt,
he did.
Watford and Palace, and I thought, what a time to go. You've just sort of maybe got back into a bit of form again. You know, and he's obviously gone to AFCON. Algeria didn't perform pretty well as a nation. They got knocked out in the group stages, and so far since he's been back, he's been a little bit, But
that's what frustrates me. That's what frustrates me about him. We know he's got talent. That's not in question. But he's I think, like you said it on that review, the Kidderminster review, Gary. He's got the heart of a goldfish. No. What I'm saying is,
I was a bit frustrated.
But what I'm saying is, he just needs. Didn't Rice say after in a post-match interview? He's like, he needs a cuddle all the time. He's one of them players. He's not going to be self-motivated. He's kind of. So we know what and that's what annoyed me in that Kidderminster, because if he can't take players on at that level, players 6 tiers below him, what chance have we got? For me, I'm not a fan at all of him.
We know the only thing I'd say, like you say he needs an arm around his shoulder and all that. Surely, Redknapp used to do it, didn't he? He was brilliant at it.
Yeah.
One of our best ever players needed that shoulder to cry on. But Di Canio was that sort of emotional, needed that sort of arm around the shoulder. Surely someone there must be giving it to him, must be giving him that arm around the shoulder. If it's not Moyes, then someone in the backroom staff, one of the coaches or something. Do you know what I mean? So,
So, Bowen next, yeah?
Yeah. Go on.
Bowen for me, I'd probably go an 8. I'd go an 8 for Bowen. I think he just keeps going. He's ridiculous, and he appears. And do you know what? Whenever Watford were attacking, you look and Bowen's there.
Yeah, it weren't one of his best games, but everything attacking that worked came through Bowen.
Yeah.
So got to get an 8.
His work rate is never in question, is it?
No.
We need an entire squad of players with that mentality, with that mindset. Yeah. Early pick, or he's my early pick for Hammer of the Year.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Early.
It's not a bad shout, mate.
If I had to look past Rice, that's who I would go for. But I don't know really how so far. Anyway,
I feel like Rice could win it every year.
Yeah.
It was an absolute joke. He didn't win it last year. Suchek won it, didn't he?
It's because of his goals. That's really it.
On my shoulder, if earning $100,000 a week, yeah.
I know. Some footballers are precious, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Right, Antonio.
It's hard with him for me.
5 or a 6 for me.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'd go 5 personally. I didn't think he did much.
The thing is we can say he's tired and all this, but we've got to judge him how he played, whether he's tired or not.
I don't
think he was still out there 100%.
Yeah, I didn't see the work rate that I usually see from Antonio. I think it was a tired game for him. I won't say lazy, a tired game.
Yeah, he did look extra tired yesterday.
He did get absolutely mauled a couple of times when he was in attack, and there was no whistle coming.
No.
So.
Oh no, the officiating was awful in that.
It was pretty bad. I try not to be that guy that moans about the refs, but
the thing is, Dan, is that he's got to rise above that, because if he's just the problem is if he feels like he's been fouled and he stops and throws his arms up in the air, he's got to get his head straight and deal with it and just
power through it.
Play the whistle. Play the whistle. Wait. Yeah. No, don't stop until the referee's decided.
Don't assume the whistle's coming. I got you there.
Yeah, there was another example. There was another example yesterday in the first half of him trapping the ball 10 feet in front of him as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Beautiful control that was, wasn't it?
Well, look, let's move on to the last player because we want to get into the juicy bit. Lanzini, the player for me who changed the game. He was.
How long was he on?
As Danny said, as good as Dawson was.
He was on about 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes. Well, I think for that 30 minutes, I mean, he was like, boom, he had an impact. The minute he come on,
in 30 minutes, I believe he turned in a man of the match performance.
That's right. He created the goal. So I think for that 30 minutes, I'd give him a 9. You couldn't give him a 9 for those 30 minutes.
Would you?
I know Danny's going to go with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a split man and a match decision, I think. But for me, he couldn't have done any more in 30 minutes.
Yeah. No,
I'm hoping that Moyes doesn't start relying on that as kind of his go-to, right? To where if maybe I don't want him to start thinking that Lanzini's only going to be providing this kind of spark off the bench rather than in our starting 11, because I would not be up for just going with Benrahma, and I know that he'll adjust tactics.
I think he had an injury, Dan. I think he was. He had
an ACL. I didn't even expect him to be playing, like let alone be in the lineup. You know,
what was it, Nick? He injured?
It was an Achilles.
Achilles, that's what it was.
Yeah. Even Danny says it right, and Danny's American. Even he says it right.
Okay, look, man in the match, John.
Okay, I understand you're marking Lanzini for 30 minutes and what he did impact going forward, but for me, for his continued performance,
John, you can't blur over him anymore. Come on, you've already done it for 2 minutes.
I'm gonna go for the beautiful man from Rochdale, Dawson.
Number 15. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dawson as well.
Oh,
okay. And Danny, I know you're Lanzini.
Look, I said earlier, I'm okay with either one of those.
Yeah.
Dawson played pretty solid for more time. What Lanzini did in his short 30 minutes was make plays that impacted winning. That made the difference between that being 1 point and 3 points.
Massively, yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
There's a lot for Bowen, man in the match.
A lot for Bowen, I've got to say, but I mean,
he was good, Bowen, but I just like it weren't Bowen's best performance, though. It weren't.
No, and I just love the bravery of, that was down my end of the pitch yesterday where he headed right onto that guy's boot, and it looked like he'd taken one right in the mush. Yeah. And that's brave in anyone's book, and for me, he deserves it for that. He was committed, so committed.
Yeah. He was. I think they should make a statue of him in Rochdale, like a bit like a Greek Adonis, like half naked or something.
Right, like the Jean-Claude Van Damme statue in Brussels where he's posing. Like,
there you go. Danny's got it.
There we go.
Right, so it's Zouma time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to switch to vodka, boys.
Yeah. So look, what we're going to do, we just decided to take a bit more of a structured approach with this discussion, and we've got like 3 talking points to go through. I think we've all got our own opinions, and we've read all sorts on Twitter. It's been all over the media.
Very polarizing.
Every single celebrity. I even see Will Young being interviewed about this later tonight. Literally everybody has had their say on this. A lot of it throughout the day, it started out with anger over Zouma yesterday. Then he got picked. So everyone's guns turned on West Ham. They turned on Moyes. They turned everywhere. So I think playing him yesterday definitely changed the direction of the conversation. And it allowed people today, to just every person that was interviewed to escalate it that bit more. Deciding what they saw as a suitable punishment, what should happen to him, etc., etc. Now, I know there's lots of strong opinions on this, but there are 3 talking points. We're going to take you through them one at a time. Talking point number 1 will be, should Zouma have played? I think we know the answer to that. And who do we think is responsible? Talking point number 2 will be, what do you think what do you think of the long-term effects of the way the club has dealt with this situation? All right, what are the possible ramifications?
For West Ham, not Zouma.
Yeah,
for West Ham.
Exactly. And point number 3 will be the PR disaster. How do we recover from that? So, how do we think that? How should the club save the situation? All right. So, and save the club's reputation as well at the same time. So, going back to point number 1, and please put your comments in the chat to respond to these, give us your point of view. So point number 1, which is, should Zouma have played, and who's to blame for that decision? So Danny, we'll start with you.
So you're starting with an American that's a little bit, I don't want to say desensitized to an incident where a prominent athlete was engaging in violence towards an animal, but you guys may or may not have already heard about Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely a lot more severe than this. That's why I'm not quite as obviously I'm disgusted with everything that I saw in the video. But having seen much worse, out of a more prominent athlete here stateside and seeing kind of how that played out. Do I think he should have played? Probably not. I was very, very shocked to see him in the starting 11. But at the same time, I was kind of thinking, you know what? Good. Because he's going to get bantered by the fans, and he did. Yeah. He's going to catch hell from the media, from supporters, home or away. Yeah. So it was part of me was like, you know what? Throw him to the wolves. Like, let him get booed every time he gets a touch. If that's how it was going to go anyway. Me personally, if I'm David Moyes, I don't envy the kind of position that he was put in to think like, well, I've got this, major issue, and I'm still trying to win a football game.
Yeah. So, Dan, what happened to the athlete in the US? Just quickly.
He served I believe 2-year prison sentence, but he was doing something much more severe. He was running. He was part of an interstate dogfighting ring that ended that involved executing dogs. Like, it was vicious. Yeah. The guy did his prison time, came back, was reinstated, played in the league for several more years, retired. Pretty polarizing figure, obviously, given the nature of his transgressions. Yeah. But you just got to let things play out. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't want anybody thinking that I'm defending or downplaying the situation. Like, I understand the gravity of and the seriousness of what he's done. And I really think Kurt Zouma's understanding of that as well. I believe he's had his pets taken away and whatnot. Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't have played him. I understand why David Moyes did, because this could seem to somebody as a cop-out. His statement that he's like, on the football side, I'm handling it. He's our best option at center back. I played him. And the rest, the board will handle, or the club will handle it. Yeah.
I don't think there's any, there's no rules that say you have to have a certain opinion, right? Everyone's entitled to see this.
It's not, it's not so black and white.
It doesn't quite feel like that, though, does it? When you look at social media.
And what I've seen today, honestly, is celebrities, for every celebrity that's interviewed or every sports star that's interviewed, they've been trying to outdo the last one and saying, just escalate the situation. Right. It doesn't help. I mean, literally it's ended up today with sponsors walking away from West Ham. Started just before the game yesterday, it was all about Zouma, wasn't it? It just escalated and escalated. Some people were saying he should never work again, right? Other people are saying it's a couple of game ban and a decent fine and some education. There are so many different ways that this could be dealt with, and I think some of them are, to me anyway, my opinion is that he shouldn't have played. He shouldn't have played yesterday. I think it was ultimately Moyes' choice to put him in the team, and that was a bad decision, but it was a footballing decision, and the club should have taken the decision on behalf of Moyes, right? They should have made the decision. The club have hidden away here. This problem has kicked off, and they've basically thrown it over the fence and said, "There you go, Moyes, what you're gonna do."
From the club.
Yeah, and then today, what's the next thing they do? Moyes gets picked, we win the game, everyone goes apoplectic, right? And then the club come out and say, "Well, it's all Moyes' fault."
Yeah,
it's sort of passing the buck.
Way to chuck the guy under the bus, right?
But then on the flip side, Gal, then you've got you could look at it the other way, where David Moyes comes out and he says when he was quizzed in the post match interview, and they said, was it a moral thing for you? And he said no. He said I'm picking the team. That side of it is the club's decision. So almost in a sense, David Moyes is saying no, it's the club. It's the club. It's not me. Right. So he's gone back the other way.
The thing for me is that David Moyes is an employee at West Ham United. Okay. Yeah. When David Moyes came out and did his scripted interview regarding non-transfers in January window, we all said that he'd been scripted. He'd been like a puppet on a string, right? Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that if the club, the board, the owners of West Ham United, they are the ones to blame. They pay the wages of staff, managers, and players. They could have gone to David Moyes and said, "Look, you're not able to select him tonight. We're making the decision to suspend him, to take him out of the limelight and to try and for want of a better phrase, take the heat off of him, right?
Put out fires.
He's going to have heat on him now for some time, right? Quite rightly, okay. But what the board have done is they've run for cover. They've seen a problem. They don't want to get involved, in my opinion. And it's very easy for them to say, "Oh, we left it to Moyes." Moyes is their employee. They are custodians. They are custodians of the club. They're meant to.
They're doing the well. Don't look at me.
Yeah. They're meant to represent us. It's not down to the manager to say, I'm not going to pick this player. They should take that situation away from Moyes from the offset. He's got enough to deal with. And yes, he could have, and he maybe, or maybe he didn't, said, you sure about this? We don't know what happened. But at the very least, Gold, Sullivan, Brady, whoever should have said, it's out of your hands. We're taking the ball by the horns. He's not available tonight. End of story.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like I say, when you can blame Moyes. Yes, Moyes was.
Hang on. What? Hang on. This comment here, this video.
I've been seeing that
when he was at Chelsea.
Apparently, yeah.
I've been seeing more and more of that.
That's the first time I've heard that. So
yeah.
Oh
my! I don't know whether that's true, and I don't know whether that's true.
I don't know either. No. I have seen it. I've seen people mention it.
I don't know that.
I didn't know that. Honestly,
I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, but look, either way, it doesn't matter. It
doesn't. It doesn't.
But that being the case, if that was done 2 years ago, why would they be taking these cats to check them now? Because the RSPCA are going to collect these animals to check them for damage. So I don't know, but going back to what I was saying, I think I think for the club, I think you're right, John, because look. David Moyes is a manager, but the club is owned by them. Football, you've got to protect your reputation. Now, you would have thought that they would have looked at that and this straight away. You would think damage limitation, disaster recovery. We're going to distance ourselves from this. You're going to come out. You're going to ban him. So you're taking him away from the from the club environment, and it's going to be investigated. And that is it. Then. But what they've done is, in my opinion, by playing him. It's gone from dirty Zouma, which he is, and by playing him, it's now dirty West Ham as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that decision to do what they did, and let's get it right. I know we had to. It was at home to Watford. It was a game that we had to win. It's fucking at home to Watford. I don't understand. No, for me, it kind of is a little bit. It was kind of football over morality to a degree, and even if you go beyond morality and you look at it from a business point of view. Even if you're just thinking it with your business hat on, reputational damage, what's going to happen here. It was sloppy. It was really, really. It was stupid playing.
Yeah, but can I just say one thing? It doesn't matter who it was against. He shouldn't have played. Whether it was a dead rubber.
No, I agree.
Or a cup I agree. Let's not forget, as well as Golden Sullivan owning us for how many years now? How many years they owned us? I can't remember. Long time.
Too many.
But too many. But let's not forget, they not only own us, they are supposedly West Ham fans. So they know the history. They know our reputation. Yeah. So that's a double whammy for me. They should have taken Moyes out the limelight. But once again, in my opinion, they've thrown him under the bus, the same as they did with the edited and scripted transfer interview. Whether he had to do it or not is another question. But he's employed. He's an employee. He's paid to do something.
I just think it was and that's the thing. It was terrible from the board for not looking after their asset, because that's effectively what they've done is just it's ridiculous. I mean we've seen we'll get onto it later on the ramifications bit, but at the end of the day for David Moyes, it's his decision. I'm not excusing David Moyes either.
No. I think I think that's interesting. I think everybody agrees that definitely the club should have put a stop to it. Yeah. Most people agree that Moyes had the chance to put a stop to it and probably should have. Right? Yeah. That's my. I think he should have read the room a little bit better than he did. But let's move on to the next point and talking point 2, John. If you can put that up, it's around. What do we think of the long-term effects and the way the club have dealt with the situation, and what could the ramifications be? Now, if you look at this comment here, for instance, I don't know your name, TDY and Rescue, those 3 points against Watford have now killed our club. RIP WHUFC? Well, I don't think so. I think it's a bleak period, but it takes more than a bleak period with a terrible error by a player, plus well, not an error, a fucking awful behaviour by a player on video, followed by bad PR from the club. It takes more than that to kill a football club, right? We will come back from this. It's a case of how we come back from this. What do you think the long-term effects? So a couple of questions. What do you think the long-term effects can be? And do you think there'll be any more ramifications in terms of sponsorships, in terms of additional fines? So start with you, John, on that one.
I can't really see how they can fine the club retrospectively. So if it comes out that it's something that's happened previously, whether it be at Chelsea or not, whether it's at West Ham, I don't know. I don't think they can fine the club. But obviously ramifications have obviously started to rear their head already today through sponsors. So we've had, I think it's a company called Vitality this evening, who have ceased to. They've postponed the sponsorship. You've also got the company called Kissimmee, the Florida-based company.
My home state.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's my home state.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting for me. This is where the moral dilemma comes into play, because I showed you guys it earlier, and one of our followers, and that Dave Hurst, actually went back to Kissimmee, who came on Twitter, and they were quite rightly appalled at Zouma's behaviour towards the cat, and disgusted, as the rest of society is and was and will be for some time. But Dave said, "Well, hang on a minute, Kissimmee. You as a company, you sell tickets to go to water parks in the States where killer whales, but let's think about the morals of this, where animals are kept confined
in captivity.
So it's a little bit of a moral high ground that they've decided to take, right? But I'm not saying they shouldn't be angry with what Zouma's done. Of course they should, and disgusted. But it's quite hypocritical, isn't it? When you hear of it like that. And I thought it was a very valid point from Dave. But the ramifications are vast. Sponsorship, if sponsors start pulling away, then obviously we're losing income, technically, aren't we? We're not technically losing income. However, for a club that doesn't spend in January transfer windows anyway, it probably wouldn't make a difference to us because we don't spend any of it anyway. So, but the ramifications could and will be vast. But I don't think we should. I don't think we can be fined as a club because what the club have decided to do is not illegal. However, it's morally incorrect, as we know.
Yeah, I think the only concern with me is if for whatever reason Zouma does get found guilty. Say, for instance, I think you mentioned it earlier on, Gary. Say we continue playing him for a few weeks, and then another video leaks of similar behaviour, and if that happens, then what I suppose that the FA can do is they can look at your due processes. What were your processes that you followed when this evidence came out? Why did you do this? And then you've got a case for punishment. And it ain't just, like I say, it's not just sponsorship. I mean, as we all know, TV is all about football is all about TV revenue. What if BT and Sky start saying, we don't,
we're not going to show West Ham games anymore?
We don't want the West Ham games on at the moment.
So on that point, Nick, we heard earlier that it's very likely that if, depending on the outcome of the RSPCA investigation, we're going to wait for that and see what happens. And until that happens, there's going to be no further punishment, and he's available for selection on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's news that we've been given from a very reliable source, people.
He's going to be available for Leicester.
Mate, he'll be playing. He'll be playing against Leicester, unless the RSPCA or the police say otherwise.
What they're saying is that at the minute he's, in theory, they're saying he's innocent until proven guilty, I suppose. So until he's charged with anything, it seems like the board, the club, have decided we're going to play our prized asset, which, from a business perspective, you can understand to some extent. However, now listen, I'm not condoning it. However, what I can't understand is that they cannot see the negative impact that this will and can have on the business side of things as well. And again, going back over ground, the moral side of things. Look, 90% of West Ham fans that I've spoken to said he shouldn't have played. And the problem is now what the club, what our owners, in my mind, have done is they've tarnished all of our names to some extent, because you sort of feel a bit embarrassed in some ways, possibly. I don't know how you feel, but
I'm embarrassed by the way that we've dealt with this. I mean, I don't feel. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not embarrassed about Zouma. Zouma's nothing to do with me, and the fact is, I'm disgusted in Zouma.
Right,
And,
he doesn't represent us.
He doesn't represent me. But
No.
what they've done is now is they've all stood shoulder to shoulder. I also didn't like the fact. I'm going to say this now as well. When the staged fucking hugging with all the other players when Zouma came out as well, show solidarity. So it was on camera. Every player had to go up to Zouma, give him a cuddle to show. You're embroidering everyone in this now. It was so messy.
Who do you think would have come up with that idea? Who do you think would have come up with that idea?
I don't know. I've got no idea. I've got no idea. But look, at the end of the day, they're all involved. And like I say, Moyes does pick the team. And I think we said earlier on, Gary, it all goes back to. And do you know why he got picked? It got picked because we haven't got cover for him, because the only other option is Diop, and we needed 3 points. No. It is what it is. Are you telling me if we had Ogbonna or Coletta Carr, it's not even a question. But
Nick, with all due respect, mate, listen, I agree with what you're saying.
He wouldn't have played him.
Listen, Nick, there are alternatives, mate. There are alternatives. We've got under 23 squad flying. It doesn't matter. You could have put a central midfielder.
I know, but it weakens us, John. And what I'm saying is the reason he did that was because he wanted the points. He wanted points.
If you have morals, none of that matters.
He hasn't got morals then.
Who?
Well, if you're saying if you've got morals, none of that matters, then what you're saying is, then what? Moyes hasn't got morals? Because
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because his employers who pay his wages have fucking thrown him under the bus. And the problem is they don't have morals because, as we discussed earlier, they have come from the porn industry. With all due respect to anyone that might be watching, that whatever, they don't have morals. They wouldn't be in the porn industry to some extent. They're not a moral. They don't have a moral compass between them, right? And the thing is you can't expect two people like that, and Brady as well, three people like that, to behold morals that the rest of us would see fit. That's what I'm saying. I don't believe for 1 minute Moyes ain't got morals, but I believe to some extent, like I said, he's told what to do, and whether he can walk away and quit his job, or what does he do?
Yeah. Do you feel like they took the easy way out? The board did.
Well, I don't think this is
you deal with it.
Most definitely.
I think from Moyes' point of view, and again, let me just play devil's advocate for a minute here. Moyes, at the end of the season, I'm assuming that this gets dealt with in the next couple of days and this blows over, right? That's what I expect to happen, right? I expect the club to start managing it properly, take responsibility, own it, and push it through. That has got to happen from here on in. And assuming that happens in the next couple of days to a week, it will blow over. It might result in Zouma being banned or something like that. We don't know. Whatever is the suitable punishment, that is what he should get, right? But say Moyes voluntarily decides to drop his best defender for a couple of key games, and we lose those couple of key games, and at the end of the season we miss out by a couple of points on
6 points or something,
on a European place or something like that, right? Do you think for 1 minute Moyes is going to be able to use the excuse, "Oh, sorry, but you remember on a moral point, I dropped Zouma." It's like, piss off. They won't be.
The board or the fans, Gary, because the fan, and there is not a fan that would have expected Zouma to have played.
I'm telling you, it is at the moment, this is fresh and horrific in people's minds, right?
Love to navigate more than anything, really.
And there are a lot of people who are very, very angry over it, and rightfully so. I was angry when I saw it as well, right? And I'm still angry now. But once, for Moyes, it is a results-based industry, both from the fans' perspective and from the board perspective. He is judged, his future is based on results. If those couple of results in dropping Zouma is the difference between us going into Europe and not going into Europe, listen, I'd understand it if he turned around at the end of the season and said, don't you remember I dropped Zouma? I'd understand it, but I'm saying a lot of people wouldn't. They would conveniently forget. People have got short memories, right? Is all it'd take is for the season to tail off a little bit and for us to finish 10th or 12th, and then they'd be pointing the finger at Moyes.
Yeah,
I think, and
I think he's made the wrong decision.
Who?
Yeah. Moyes has. He's made the wrong decision.
But Nick, do you not think it would have been easier for the club to say he's not available? Then
of course it would have been. Of course it would have been. But it's still, look, John, would you have picked him if you was a manager?
Listen, I don't know.
You wouldn't have.
I wouldn't want. Listen, Listen, I wouldn't have picked him, no. But I don't know the conversations he has with them, with the board members, with the owners, right? At the end of the day, Gold and Sullivan own our club. They are meant to be West Ham fans. They should have took the bloody decision out of his hands and not put him in that situation. Quite rightly, he was wrong to pick him. But we don't know what conversations were had. The board should have eradicated any of this, and now Moyes
but the thing is, right, as bad as this whole instance is, right, as bad as it is, if it had been dealt with properly, right, for instance, straight away, like I said, whatever, by the board, he's removed from the team, from the playing environment, he gets the maximum possible fine. The club come out and say, we're having him investigated, we're working with the police, this is all being dealt with, we're going to carry on without him, and we'll keep you updated. That is it. It's done. As far as West Ham are concerned, there is no more mud on West Ham. But
that would have washed our hands, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is no more mud on West Ham. But now what they've done is, by what they've done, I'll say it again, now we are dirty West Ham because of this shit, and they're all part of it. Yes, GSB are ultimately to blame.
Ultimately, to blame. Yeah, but it's a filter effect. Yeah, who do you take your instructions from?
Well, you take what you mean?
Huh?
From your manager?
No, do you not think Moyes takes instructions from them to some extent? If we're saying he was told to do that interview about transfers, how do we know he wasn't told to pick him in the team? How do we know that?
No, I'm
not saying he was, but what I'm saying is Gold, Sullivan, Brady, they're the people that could have quashed this from the off, right? And people are saying,
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm not disputing
that. I'm not saying Moyes was right, by the way. I'm not saying Moyes was right.
It's a divisive topic, isn't it? This whole thing's a divisive topic.
Very polarizing. You're not going to make everybody happy, no matter what the board would have done.
And you can tell that from the chat that's going on the screen, and also the chat that's going on in the chat as well, right? It's you got people with different points of view. And
would you have picked him, Gary? If I
was the manager, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. How about you, Dan? Would you?
No, personally, I wouldn't have picked him. But I also. I don't know, man. Like you have to win a game. That if that's my job as a manager, I'm going to do what I can to try and win that game. But no, I personally would not have played him. But I'm not going to vilify Moyes for having done so.
No,
I'm not saying that he was right in doing so, but like you've made the point, Nick, it's his job is results based. Yeah. And I think it was Gary that mentioned, like, what kind of sympathy is Moyes going to get if let's just pretend we drop points and get bounced out of all these competitions that we're still in, and people are calling for his job. Nobody's going to be sympathizing with him like, oh, well, you remember when we were having some disciplinary issues and I couldn't play my first choice center back. Yeah. Nobody's going to care about that, the board or the fans.
And you see, the reason they haven't done it, the board, the reason they haven't said you cannot use Zouma is because they are the ones that don't want to have the finger pointed at the end of the season at them, saying that they forced Zouma not to play. They've forced the problem onto Moyes.
Yes. But the other thing is it exposes a more recent issue, which was our lack of, because you take Moyes out of the equation. You take No. What I'm saying is, but it's all linked. It's all interlinked, and that is the only reason that he played. That's the only reason it was even a decision, was because we've got no one to cover him. If we had someone to cover Zouma, that is not even a conversation that anyone has. You take him out of the team.
Listen, right, this is a very passionate conversation, and keep your comments coming in the chat. It's really good. We're going to go on to talking point number 3 now. So, look, we've spoken about a couple of emotive subjects. Here's the last one, and that is, this is a PR disaster, isn't it? This is an absolute mare. The way this has been managed, the incompetence that the club has shown in managing this issue, somebody in charge of PR should have owned this all the way through and should have, plotted a route through it. Do you honestly think for 1 minute, if this was Virgil van Dijk playing for Liverpool, that Liverpool would be in this mess right now? No chance. Absolutely no chance. It would have been, they would have managed the hell out of it, right? And so, how do we recover from this? What can the club do in the next couple of days? Because they have to. And I think just putting a notice out on a website like they did today about we're going to play ball with the
investigation to conclude and
RSPCA and wait for the result of the investigation. That's not good enough. They need to be proactive and get out there and make stuff happen, in my opinion. So, look, we've got Danny, you've had one, John had one, Nick. This one comes to you. How does it get fixed?
It's a tough one now because, like I say, it would have been a relatively it's not an easy decision to take one of your best players out and risk points, but it would have, from a PR perspective, it would have been a pretty easy fix, 2 days ago, because you would have just taken him, like I just said, you would have taken him out of you followed it the right way, taken him away from the team environment, let the world know that you're banning him, you're giving him the maximum fine, you're having him investigated by the police. You probably go on I'm not being funny, you probably would go on like a PR drive. You'd be getting him going to cat sanctuaries,
the shelters and whatnot,
and all that sort of thing. You'd be trying to sort of get his image rebuilt away from West Ham, because I think you would disconnect him from West Ham. But moving forwards, I think it's now going to be 10 times harder now for us to repair this with Zouma in the picture. With Zouma in the picture.
Right.
I almost feel like now we've almost got to distance ourselves from what is a problem now. It was a problem anyway. But I think that we've suffered serious reputational damage now, even with that one. You are right, Gary. Long term, that probably will go away once they've sorted it out. But it can, I don't really know. I'm not too sure. I mean, there must be companies out there. Clearly, West Ham they've not got a PR department. They can't have a PR department. So there must be companies out there and organisations that you can go to with this type of thing, like disaster recovery bullshit for PR and stuff like that. There must be people that you can go to.
There must be adults that can come in and help them.
Navigate this situation. Sort of pull them in to save the situation.
Yeah, we've got a CEO and a staff, and I'm sure there are some senior members of that staff, and they need to be scrambled to pull this crap together and get through it. We can't be losing sponsors. We can't be losing our reputation like this. No. I'm sure Karen Brady, in a long and distinguished career in boardrooms up and down the land, she's had to deal with PR disasters before. Well, now's a chance to put some of that she's learned, some of those learnings into practice, and perhaps get involved and get her hands dirty and pull us through this. Don't shirk it off to someone else. Don't push it onto the manager. Don't push it onto the staff who are clearly too junior to deal with a problem like this. Come to the forefront, deal with it yourself. Why else do you get paid 1.3 million a year? Right. So anyway,
but I mean, in terms of that, I mean, I don't really know how. Well, I'll tell you what worries me is it's not. I think in terms of a PR disaster recovery, a different club wouldn't be in this situation, but if they was, they'd dig their way out relatively simply. The worry is, being West Ham, I don't see us doing anything the right way. We don't, and I think this isn't just going to blow over. I don't think.
Not quickly, no. And if I could say this, Nick, I keep saying that this is we're not. I don't know if we're in uncharted waters in terms of English football, and if this has happened before, specifically with abuse to animals. But I think the board, just the club in general, would be doing themselves a big service if they then put the responsibility on the person that's ultimately responsible for the entire reason we're even having this discussion, the entire reason any of this controversy is going on, and that's Kurt Zouma himself.
Exactly, yeah.
Anybody that, and I've seen some pretty extreme opinions on social media, even in our comment section. And you know what? We all have different life experiences.
Yeah.
People that want his head are like justified in feeling like that. I get it. We've all had different experiences. They are not wrong for thinking that. But if there's any sort of recovery from a PR standpoint, you've got to get him in front of the press, in front of people. You're going to have to get microphones in his face to where he can answer for what he's done and maybe explain his side of the situation. I understand that he had a very, very brief written statement that, he feels really badly. He understands the gravity of the situation. Like, of course. And it's an isolated incident. Like, what's he going to say? Yeah, I hit my cat all the time. This is normal. No, of course not.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think if the club make him deal with it head on, right?
Absolutely.
No bullshit, no hiding behind the manager, no saying, well, it wasn't my idea. Don't look at me, look at him.
Well, I don't think they can protect him in this anyway. He's got to come out and find. No, they can't.
I'll tell you what, right? A bit of a light-hearted moment, right? A light-hearted moment. This is a comment from Grant Coxford where he says, "Bring your."
I love that comment. Actually,
I'll tell you what. I went to a baseball game in Houston, the Houston Astros, and they had "Bring Your Own Dog Day." And there was shit everywhere in that stadium. Yeah. There was shit everywhere.
But so did they do that before or after they got caught cheating to win the World Series? Because that happened.
It's all I know. It was about 100 degrees outside, and that stadium was lovely and air conditioned. So it was nice inside. But anyway, that aside, I think it'd be a difficult thing to do with cats. But it's that kind of positive PR move that the club needs to do. So I know it was flippant, Grant, but I took it seriously. So what else can we do? Let's go through some of these comments. I mean, there's a lot of anti-GSB stuff in here, definitely. John, what do you think? How can it be fixed?
I'm not sure if it can for some time, actually. I think that obviously people who are obviously in the animal industry or animal
just animal lovers in general.
Well, we're all animal lovers, aren't we? I mean, nobody hates, well, people obviously do because they wouldn't be rescue centers and things. But what I mean is, I probably take it for granted that this country, in my opinion, is generally an animal loving country. However, somebody did highlight the fact to me earlier on that fox hunting still goes on. So are we that morally up on it that we think we are as a nation? Obviously, I don't know what it's like in the US, Dan, for pets. I mean, I'm guessing pets are a big thing in the US as well. And people are, dogs here are.
But so is hunting. There's a lot of hunting here.
Yeah. So you've got to be, if you take the moral high ground on one thing, we've all got to take the moral high ground on all things animal abuse. Right?
And I agree. Someone mentioned earlier about whataboutery, and I hate that when somebody says
that's never.
I just can't stand that because that's not an argument. But this perspective, someone got murdered in London last night, and I think that gives. Let's talk about what was going on TalkSport today, right? On TalkSport today, they actually equated it to who's the guy that raped and beat up his girlfriend? What was his name? Mason Greenwood.
Mason Greenwood. That whataboutism has got to go.
Exactly. How can you compare these two crimes? I mean, two completely different levels. So, how you could do whataboutery with those two things. And then what they were saying, their point was, and this, I was driving back last night listening to TalkSport, right? And there was some idiot who was the co-presenter on TalkSport with that with Jamie O'Hara, who was loving it, absolutely loving it. And what he said was his contribution to the conversation was, what West Ham have done tonight in selecting Kurt Zouma is they've made it acceptable to their young fans to abuse animals. I thought, you thick twat. I mean, no, they haven't. No, they haven't. They've made a mistake, but don't make that leap from there to up here somewhere.
We're reaching wrong. That was for a soundbite that generates clicks, that gets people talking. That's a money. That's a money.
This is TalkSport who employed Stan Collymore after Ulrika Johnson. It's and they're claiming moral outrage. But no, you had Trevor Sinclair who got some stick on Twitter as well because he jumped on the bandwagon earlier. I didn't hear the comment, but it was along the lines of he mentioned
he said Zouma happened. Zouma playing ruined the memories of Isla Caton or whatever.
Disrespected it, ruined the memories, and then Isla Caton's uncle contacted him on Twitter and basically put him right. He put him right. He said, "Please don't use Isla Caton in this argument."
And that was the sad thing about this.
I saw that the club disabled comments on any posts regarding Isla's remembrance on social media, and for good reason. The timing is just as bad as what's happened, really. Given the somber occasion being observed and having to deal with this outside distraction. I wasn't at the ground. I hope it didn't take away from the moment, I guess. But
I think what people need to understand is look, we're because you know what, I was disgusted. I will accept Kurt Zouma played well yesterday. I'm not dismissing what Kurt Zouma's done. I'm disgusted with what he done. absolutely disgusted by it, and I wanted the club to deal with him. But do you know what? I don't really care about Kurt Zouma in a minute. I want him to get dealt with. I do care about West Ham though.
Sure.
And I think that this is damaged us way more than it had to. Now, I think it has.
It has. But this is what I'm saying, Nick. For me, the buck does stop with Gold and Sullivan. They own the club. They're West Ham fans, and what they've done is tarnished our club, right? Like you said earlier, was so true. Yesterday it was about Kurt Zouma. Today it's about West Ham, right? And that's the problem. And I know Moyes ultimately picked him, but the problem could have been eradicated from the off if the owners stepped in. That's all I think.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
They're supposed to blame to some extent,
But it's been a clusterfuck from top to bottom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those most equipped to deal with the situation. I don't want to say properly because that can be a broad term and we can disagree from one person to the next on what's proper. But those that could have taken control of the situation didn't. And now it's yes, it has done some damage to the club. It's fixable. It's going to get better for Zouma, for the club. We'll be all right. Just
if you talk about it from a moral standpoint and society as a whole, what this has done, out of bad sometimes comes good.
Yes.
And this has now caused a conversation where all of us, people who probably take for granted, myself as an example of that, where you forget the animal cruelty because we don't live and breathe it every day. I've got a dog who's 17 years of age. You won't dream of hitting him or kicking him or beating him or whatever, So you just assume everyone's like that. And until you see something like this, and until people in the chat who work in that industry educate you, that's fine. I'm up for being educated, and this is what it does as a whole. But the club as a whole now is suffering, and the fan base is suffering. We're all being tarnished with you're scum, you're this. We're not. Most of us fans aren't.
I mean, the only thing that irritates me, and I will say this, and I am going to say this, and that's about social media and society as a whole at the moment. And that for me, you can't sit in the middle anymore. It's not today. It's Kurt Zouma. Tomorrow it's something else. You're either hang Zouma or you love Zouma and you hate animals.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground.
There has, and it's not so black and white, man.
No, it is ridiculous, and that is kind of it's like anything, If you don't agree with me, then you hate old people. If you don't do this, then blah blah blah. And it's so wrong. Honestly, you can't. And that's the thing. I've seen some arguments on social media, on Twitter today. And there's been people getting absolutely slammed, and they weren't saying that they agreed with this. They weren't saying that they agreed with Zouma.
No,
but because they weren't taking the hard line, they were getting
vilified.
That's exactly right. It's not acceptable to go anything but extreme, which is my point earlier about celebrities going every successive celebrity going one stronger to try and dominate the news cycle. That's what it seems to be.
A race for the outrage. It's not healthy.
It's like I mean, just saying you're not allowed to have this conversation. Well, yeah, we are allowed to have this conversation, and you're allowed to have different points of view. Nobody on here is saying it's right to abuse animals. Everyone was horrified by it, right? We're all saying the same thing, but there's a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different life experiences. And like John said, it's healthy to have conversations. You learn from conversations. If you shut conversations down, then don't help anybody, really, does it?
No, it can't just be everything can't just be an echo chamber. You learn nothing. No progress is made. I don't think it was Simon Jordan echoed something he had heard yesterday on TalkSport that animal abuse is not a mistake. Okay, like that resonated with like it did with him. Okay, but if there is going to be some good to come of this, it's going to be more on Kurt Zouma than the club or the fans or the board or David Moyes. One person's responsible for any of this having happened, and that's Kurt Zouma. So if he owns this and just Simon Jordan did bring this up yesterday that we can't just be rushing to vilify somebody and take the extreme stance on this, like we're all the villagers with pitchforks and he's the Frankenstein monster. Like we've got to be a more of a forgiving society and give somebody an opportunity to redeem themselves. No, it's not. It's not good to use Mason Greenwood as an example because really, I'm I've got a pitchfork and a torch ready for that motherfucker. But
Yeah.
But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Kurt Zouma's. He just doesn't strike me as the kind of person that's going to deal with this arrogantly. Has the club in general, just West Ham as a unit, have they absolutely fumbled and dropped the ball from a PR standpoint? Yes, absolutely.
Well, look, Kurt Zouma, he did come out yesterday and he took a load of shit. He was getting booed whenever he kicked the ball. So you could say in one respect, he didn't hide away.
No, I kind of enjoyed him getting booed.
Yeah, he didn't
every touch of the ball.
He took the stick. Do you know what I mean? And that's going to continue. It's going to continue happening. But I think you're right. It goes back to what you said, Dan. I think almost to a degree, he can't hide away. He works in the public domain. That's where he makes his living.
Yeah,
they should almost back him. He shouldn't be reading from a fucking script. He should be having an interview, an open interview, and he should be grilled. And he should look very well. I'm sure he is mortified now, if nothing else, with what's happened to him. It's raising awareness, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. He's got to face the music, and do what he can, which I think he can, to have some positive come of this.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know. I think they've got to try. I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, look. At the end of the day, look, animal cruelty is. And like I say, I am an animal person. I love animals. I've got a cat. I've got a dog. I've always had dogs. And it makes me angry to think of somebody hurting an animal. It really, really does. Yeah. But you do get some people. There's some people I know and respect as well that and it's kind of that they will go, oh, but it's just a cat. So and there is sometimes that mentality as well, because
downgrading the severity of what's happening.
Yeah. And that's where I think the education thing comes in. That isn't because those people are evil or anything.
No, they've had a different life experience.
Yeah. I think that's all it is. So it is. I don't know. It's a touchy subject, but my main concern, my feeling at the moment, to be quite honest, is fuck Kurt Zouma, get him away from our club, and let's start repairing our club again. At the moment,
the problem is, Nick, long term, in some people's eyes, it won't be repaired until he's possibly gone.
Yeah,
well,
no.
It'll forever be a stain on
the extremities of it all.
Listen, any situation like this can be managed properly, right? Yeah. With professionalism, with the right people doing the right things and controlling it, getting Zouma to, do what he needs to do in order to, because it was an awful thing, right? But I'm not in favor of this is the end of his career.
No.
Right? There's got to be a road to recovery for Zouma. So someone at the club, someone empowered, needs to help him with that road to recovery, right? Whatever it is, and getting back to playing football again. I agree with you, Nick. I would dump him out of the team for the next couple of games until we've made some progress.
Repair the damage first, and then work on Zouma separately. It should be two separate exercises.
Yeah, but it's got to be proactive. This, to me, just feels like we're passing the buck across to the authorities, waiting for them to say something.
Let the next person
make a decision. Yeah.
So I had this question, guys. I watched the match yesterday on Peacock. Okay, that's not where all the West Ham games are shown, but yesterday's it was, and it's very limited coverage. I saw nothing of the team coming out of the tunnel, any of the hugs. Like, this stream is the first time hearing of it.
Oh yeah. No, it was one by one. So just before kickoff, each player went up to Kurt Zouma. Each player went up to Kurt Zouma and had a hug to show solidarity before the game. Now, for me, that was wrong.
That seems a little showy and probably something that could have been done in private. I mean, those players, I can tell you, they go to battle with him week in and week out. See him on the training ground. That's their teammate. That's their friend, right? They're a tight unit. Yeah. So, no, he has not made a mistake. He has done something terrible. But that's still their friends, and they're trying to be there for him. I won't vilify him for that. I'm not. I had no idea that they'd had a public.
Yeah, I'm not vilifying them. I'm not vilifying them. I'm saying that they possibly have been dragged into it to a degree because they've been dragged into the past, to the fanfare. Because I'm not being funny, right? I'll be amazed if you haven't got one or two animal lovers in that changing room that are going to be just as upset with him.
Yeah,
Of course, they
there will be a couple. There'll be a couple in there who are going to have looked at that and gone, "Fucking hell, mate."
they're going to look at him a little bit differently
is
now.
that? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, each to their own. I know. Look, mate. You TD Hawaiian Rescue. I know you got a lot of strong opinions about everything in the comments tonight. I know you said there's absolutely no redemption. West Ham are finished and all that sort of stuff. Now that's one opinion. You take that opinion if you like, but you can't enforce it on everybody else. There are a few other things. Does breeding boxers, etc., so they can't breathe because humans like the look. Exactly. No, of course not. It's ridiculous.
Robert's not going to want to see my French bulldog then.
Yeah, it's horrible, and that's why good reputable breeders where you get your boxers. That's where I got my boxer.
Yeah.
Every player who hugged him last night is now marred. Well, I don't think so. Again, it's an extreme point of view.
That is too extreme, mate. In my opinion, that really is.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing you were having a go at John in his video saying he was wrong. He was wrong earlier, and John. Every couple of seconds.
I wasn't actually condoning anything.
No, but he must have said 5 times in that 8-minute video, I'm not condoning this, and still you get the comments, you get people jumping on it. Yeah, so.
And again, you give a suggestion here, mate.
My opinion.
It gives a suggestion here. Zouma, come and meet my 50 abused rescue dogs. That might be the sort of thing that Zouma should do, right?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I'd say put your money where your mouth is. If you would host them and maybe educate. That would be a good opportunity to educate. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't need to catch the flack for it because it's all self-inflicted.
Cool. Well, yeah. Look, I mean, I'm not being funny. Well, perhaps I am, but in the 70s and the 80s, probably more the 70s, when people got a dog and the dog messed on the floor, it was common practice for people to get hold of their dog, give it a slap and rub its nose in it, right? Yeah. You now know when you're raising a dog.
Roll up the newspaper.
Yeah, you now know when you're raising a dog. I mean, all you need is your voice. You just need a stern voice. Sure. You need crate training. You need all the good, easy stuff. It makes it really easy to raise a dog, right? Yeah. Things have moved on. You don't know what Zouma's background is, right? And again, not protecting him, but that might be depending. I don't know what it's like animal care in France. Are they as good with animals, as advanced with animals in France as we are? I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. Nigel's starting trouble. Look, should we have Zexit? Are you Zexiteers?
Yeah. I asked him the other day. I said, if you had the option of Brady out and Zouma out, who would you choose? I won't tell you what he said.
Yeah. You know what he said. Everyone knows what Nigel would have said. He says it every opportunity.
Yeah. And yeah, look, I mean, let's leave it. We've gone for an hour and 37 minutes. I think we've done this to death. I mean, a couple of more points. I mean, yeah, look, we don't want to mix these two topics really, but you're right with that comment.
And it is a shame.
Unless you're saying it's threat, which is inciting violence. Oh god. In the AFL, each team has a leadership group of around 6 players. I'm sure a player like Zouma wouldn't have been allowed to play. Well, yeah, you may be right, Neil. You may be right. And again, none of us are saying that was the right thing that he played last night. In fact, we're all saying the opposite. Yeah, true. Brady out. Well, yeah, I'd go Brady out on this one. Well, more. I'll tell you what. I'll go Brady out. Or I'll go Brady. Sort your act out and get this thing under control because you must have access to some very good PR people.
This is ultimately her job to sort this out, isn't it?
Yeah.
No? Exactly that. Yeah.
And let's finish on a happy note. I think Spurs are drawing 1-1 at home to Southampton.
Good.
And
Southampton's goal.
I didn't see it, but yeah, come on, you Saints. Let's at least give us something to smile about. And I'll leave it there. So, Nick, do you want to take us out?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. Like I say, a bit of a strange week. Well, it's been a strange couple of weeks, isn't it, to be a West Ham fan at the moment? But yeah, I'm sure we're going to get through it. I don't know how, I don't know when, but we will. We play Leicester away at the weekend. We've got the Friday night booze up as usual, where we're going to be joined by Mike and Chris and Grant, aren't we?
Yeah, Grant.
And Grant as well. Yeah, so come and join us for that. It's going to be a bit of a chaotic one. And yeah, so like I say, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week. Come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons.
See you later.
Cheers, Danny.
Cheers.
Take care, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, mate.